Everybody, thank you for coming. My name is Nitin, and I'll be talking briefly about my life. I think this is the theme that best encapsulates my life and represents who I am as a person, living for the story. So every story has a beginning, and mine begins in Hyderabad, which is a small town, big city in India actually. And these are my parents. So before I talk more about myself, I think I should give you a brief introduction about them because they shaped who I am today. So they came from really humble beginnings, so humble that they had to actually fight to get meals on the table. And there were days where they had to go hungry just so that I could get food. So coming from that to being where they are now, it took a lot of hard work and determination on their side. So growing up, I already learned the important lesson that if you want something in life, you just have to go get it. Nobody's gonna hand it out to you. And I also learned to be grateful for what I have. So in short, I can say everything that's good about me today is because of them. And everything that's bad, maybe because of these people here. Just maybe. So now these are my siblings. I'm kidding. So my parents decided that one was way too many and they didn't want to risk having another one like me. So they said, that's one's done. So I'm an only child. That didn't really bother me too much because I always had a huge family. That is a visual demonstration of my family tree. It's actually massive. And to give you an example, that is a very small gathering of just first cousins from my mom's side. Now, the problem with having such a big family was that I couldn't really connect with them as a kid. And that was because I moved to the US when I was pretty young. And my dad's job required him to constantly move, so it was really hard to make friends. Add onto the fact that I was bullied a lot because I was different and I was also pretty fat at the time. So the combination of these factors made it actually very hard to make friends, and it made me kind of reserved and introverted at the time. But that changed when I came back to India, because all of a sudden, I remembered the banyan tree. I had so many people that I had to talk to all of a sudden, so I felt comfortable there, and I started talking to people more. But there was one particular incident that really changed my life, which was at this beautiful station. So right before a public speaking competition, my English teacher asked me to sit down on this platform. Just sit down in a busy train platform for 5 minutes and don't move, don't talk. And trust me, if it sounds scary, it was way worse in real life. So I did it, and after 5 minutes, actually, I think whatever fear I had of speaking in front of public vanished. Because even now, this is nothing compared to like 500 people looking at you and judging you, thinking you're crazy. And that's what opened me up. I started speaking up more, it became easier to have friends, it became easier to make connections. And another big chapter in my life is sports. I'm really grateful that I got into team sports. Not only was it a way to connect with new people, but it was a good mechanism to de-stress after a long day. So even today, if I have a long day, I can always compartmentalize by just going playing either basketball or volleyball. So we don't choose the family that we're born into, but we do choose the family that we're, our second family, which is our friends. And over the years, I've learned that, when you have the ability to just talk about stories and reminisce about them, that's far more valuable than some materialistic object. So I did my undergrad in this university called Manipal, and I graduated with a degree in computer science. After I graduated, I went to work for a Swiss bank called UBS. And this was interesting because I didn't really know too much about finance, and I was thrown into a team, a very small team that was all about financial modeling. So I had to learn really quick, and I learned to think on my feet during that job. And I also learned how important it was to have contacts across different divisions. That's a picture of my team. Now, life in Mumbai also taught me a lot of lessons, but let me give you one particular story, which was, so those were my roommates in Mumbai, and there was this big storm, and the storm knocked out the power for the grid. And our house was so bad that you couldn't sleep in that house without power. So we came up with a brilliant solution to spend the night at the 7-Eleven across the street, and that's exactly what we did. It was not the most pleasant experience at the time, but now it's a fun story. And it also helped me realize that I could survive anywhere, and I could solve problems that were thrown at me. So that was when I decided to apply for Masters, because I wanted to be in a role that was more challenging. And new chapter at Duke, it was a good chance to learn a lot of stuff. I learned a lot, I experienced a lot, I had the opportunity to meet a lot of great people, expanded my second family as such. And I also took some great classes. Now the best chapter of my Duke experience is volleyball, because when I was a kid, I didn't really have the chance to play a sport at a high level. I was really passionate about it, but I didn't get that chance. And I finally had that chance here. And these are my teammates, and there are some of them right here. So I think playing volleyball was a big part because not only did it help me connect to people outside of my program, but it also gave us a common platform and something to look forward to in the week, which is away from work. And we also had some good moments. We won intramurals twice. We also won ODU last year. So it's good to know that our names will forever be etched into the history of some closet in Wilson for the rest of life. So that's pretty special. I'm really grateful that I got these 2 years with this team. And unfortunately, like life, every up has a down. And for me, the down came when I had the sad news that my grandfather passed away. And he was somebody that I was always looking forward to sharing my stories with. And I was really excited to tell him all about Duke and share those stories, but I never got the chance. So that will take me some time to get over, but what I've learned from that is that don't take time for granted. Make the most of the opportunities you have now. And don't say I'll do something later, do it today, because you might not get a later. So that's what I did. So I jumped off a plane, and then I jumped into the ocean. And then I hopped on some skis and tumbled down the mountain a few times. And then I also spent half of the summer just traveling because that was something that I really wanted to do. And I also used it in my professional life because I took a risk. I joined this company called Subishi as an intern, and this was last summer, and the reason it was risky was because I was very skeptical about this job. I wasn't too involved in construction before because I come from a tech background, but what I learned is that your role can be anywhere, honestly. Even if it's a field that you don't really know well, you can find roles that you like. Because I had the chance to apply technology to solve problems that they were facing in the accounting department. I had to pitch my solution to the executives, and that was the hardest part of my job ever. Like convincing the executive that your solution is better than theirs, that was the hardest job. And right after that, coming back to the fall semester, I had a big decision to make. I had to either graduate then or decide to extend. And for context, 96% of my class was probably choosing to graduate. So that was a very hard decision, but what really helped me make that decision was this beautiful course, which is my favorite course, called Technical Sales by Professor Alessio, who's on the call right there. So this not only introduced me to a new career path, but it also it gave me some clarity on what I needed to do later after graduation. And it also helped me realize that I need some time to orient my life towards that, which is why I chose to extend. We attended a sales engineering conference, which led to us creating a sales engineering club. So we're really excited about that. Finally, what's next? Well, I'll probably graduate in about 5 minutes. So I'm really sad that I'll be missing Duke, but I'm happy of all the moments we've had here. And I'm grateful for all the friends that I've made here. But I'm also really excited to pursue a career in technical sales. Now, it's quite possible that I might be the worst salesperson ever. But either way, in a few years, I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to say it was a good story. Thank you.
Questions?
Yes.
If you had to choose one between jumping from the sky or diving into the ocean, which one would you choose?
That's an easy question. I think jumping from sky. Because like jumping into the ocean gets boring after like 3 months. Yeah.
So you said you had to convince the CEO, pretty much sell him.
The
on your
CEO,
idea.
the CFO, and the CTO.
And knowing what you know now after having Professor Alessio's class,
Yeah.
what would you have done different?
That's good. I think I would have aligned the product better to meet their pain points. So like there was a reason that I thought it was better, but there was also problems that they were facing, right? So I think I would align my pitch according to them and not from what I know. So that's what I would do.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, Robert.
What do you think playing volleyball helps you in a professional setting?
I think any team sport helps you drastically in a professional setting. It helps show that you work well in a team. It shows that you're committed because you have to be disciplined. It shows that you're healthy physically and potentially mentally too. It also helps shows that, as I said, it gives you a way to just get your stress out so you don't bring work home. So I feel like there's a lot of benefits to playing sports. And more importantly, it also gives you a network. So like when one of these guys starts a company, I'm sure I can work with them, hopefully. Yes, hi.
If you could go back in time to talk to your younger self, what would you tell us?
I would tell him to value the time that I had with my friends and family at that time. And not be too afraid of this, and then just tell him that it'll work out in the end. If it doesn't, it's Yeah, no.
Did you think that when we first met and played volleyball for the first time that we would win the IM trophy?
I was actually pretty confident that we wouldn't because you were on the team. But it was good that we won the second time. So I'm just kidding. He's good.
I'm glad I could help out.
Yeah, that's good.
What would be your advice for the people who are afraid to do the adventures? You are a very adventurous person.
So I think you have to find a reason to do it. Right? For me, it was always about pushing my limits, and it was always also about just having a good story to share later. But it's also more importantly about having no regrets. Because for example, the things that I can do now, given my energy, time and health, I might not be able to do later. So I think this applies to all aspects of life and not just like adventures. Like just do what you can right now. Like understand that you might not be able to do certain things when you're older. You'll have different responsibilities, you might not be in the best shape. So it's like, that's my advice. And I think even professionally you can apply the same logic. So like if you choose a risky job, it's not gonna be the end of the world. You can always find another job. But if you're afraid to take that risky job, you're never going to put yourself in that right place, right time. So people who always were in the right place, right time historically, had to have taken a risk to put themselves out there. Because if you never put yourself out there, you'll never be in a good position. So I think that would be my advice.
Time for one more question.
Does anything still scare you?
Does anything still scare me? I'm scared of snakes, actually. I have an irrational phobia of snakes. So even if I was snake, I would probably be scared. But I think that's not the answer you're looking for, right?
Great, thank you very much. Fill out the forms, please.
Wait.
Oh.